I was first at art school, I majored in sculpture and I did a lot of metal work, a lot of woodwork, and it's very loud, it's very messy, and it's not something that I always enjoyed. But I enjoyed the idea of making with my hands. Conceptually, I was moving towards transgenerational trauma and epigenetics and how we carry DNA from generation to generation and how we carry trauma in our DNA. And I wanted to start a process of sort of healing that and also like overcoming that. And so that's what led me to looking at wool, looking at tapestries, looking at textiles, and this idea of like healing through making something. And when I wanted to initially make a tapestry and learn how to use a loom, I just really didn't have the budget or the time to create the work that I needed to create in the time. I just went to like my local fabric shop. I picked up some hessian. I made a frame from wood from literally outside the dump of my studio. So this work is titled Wedding Day, and it is of my grandmother's wedding day, and on the one side is her mother-in-law and then the other side is her mother. If you look at the original photograph, my grandfather is actually in it. I mean, I've never rug took a male sort of figure in my work, by choice, and also sometimes not by choice. But yeah, I think mothers have always been very important to me in my life, and I think there is just a spirituality that comes with a woman and a mother that is very special to me. Because I do believe like there is a kinship and like a soulmate-esque sort of level of understanding that you can have within your own family that's not necessarily romantic. My dad passed away last year, April, and if I had ever a best friend, it was definitely him. Like there was something about us together like that, we just got each other on a different level. I go through phases with my work of where it means very different things to me. When I initially started, it was a lot about creating a community for myself and feeling safe within that community and affirming myself in that community as part of like my own South African Indianness, like finding parts of my culture that I identify with as an adult rather than just things that I've learned as a child has been really important to me. And I think when I first started making, it was really about affirming that South African Indianness. I've moved more into me as an individual rather than just as like this very like made up entity of like, okay, you're Indian, you're a woman, you're gay, like those are your things and those what you stick to. But I'm trying to always see how those worlds sort of like marry together and how they feed off each other. If we look at the most recent work that I made for Cape Town Art Fair, it's a work titled State of Mind, and it's a work of my bedside table. I really think that like the things around my house and around my home, if they are messy, it's very telling of the state of mind that I'm in. So even a work in this show for Cape Town Art Fair, the work is titled Thinking If You Also Dream of Me, is sort of a nude selfie, and the intention of that work is not a nude selfie that I'm sharing with anyone. Sometimes you come home and you're feeling cute, you've just hung out with your friends, and then you just take a nude selfie and it really goes nowhere. I mean, it's not for anyone, it's literally just for yourself. And I think those moments are so special to like encapsulate and to make into something sort of physical and to archive it in sort of tapestry form. Because I think it's so important to like feel sexy for yourself and to like make things for yourself. I always say, oh, I want to make a work for my apartment, or I want to make a work, and it never happens because whenever I have the free time, I take the free time. So I guess a way for me to do that like inadvertently is to actually just make the work that I want to make, which I think is a really great way to show sort of my growth from the first initial sort of like nude selfie that I made, which was actually the first ever work that I made that was more contemporary and didn't show sort of like family or sort of like very traditional woman, was a nude selfie I made in 2020. And even the titles alone, so that work was titled You're Hot AF for an Indian Girl, and it's actually something someone DM'd me. And I think if I compare the works from just like the mentality that I was in, that work was sort of based off a perception someone else had of me, whereas now I'm trying to make work for me, and it doesn't have to be for everyone else, and it doesn't have to be about how someone else is seeing me or relating to me, but how I'm relating to myself. But I also learned when I initially started making that I don't necessarily need to be loud to be disruptive, and that for me was always very special, that they were these sort of initially very soft objects, but once you sort of like read into them, it maybe becomes a bit darker, or maybe it becomes a bit lighter. But yeah, there's a depth to silence, I think, that's in the work.